Bells, bells. You have to pay attention now. Thank you very much, Bella. Bella is my student today. So, we are gonna make one of my favorite Mother's Day recipes. It's my Sorrento Mother's Day Caprese Frittata. Mozzarella, lots of tomatoes. It is a very bright, it is a very cheery, what I think of Mother's Day brunch to be. Something that really makes your mouth water, but tantalizes your vision first. So we're gonna do 7 eggs. I've already cracked 5. The whole reason to adding 7 eggs is because that 1 extra egg adds a little bit more height, because you want the frittata to be a little bit thicker, right? Similar to a Spanish torta, they're a little bit thicker. They shouldn't be super thin like a French omelet. You could do 6 eggs if you want to. You could do 8 eggs. 7's like in the middle. We're just gonna break up these eggs, and it's really, I really like to have room temperature eggs when I'm doing this. It just creates more fluffiness in the eggs, and when you make the frittata, it just gives it more height if they're not cold, right? Because think about it, if they're super cold and you put them in a hot pan, it like shocks the eggs, right? So it kind of stops them from growing or from rising the way that cookies or cakes, they tell you to bring all of the ingredients to room temperature. It's the same idea for a frittata. And guys, at the end of the day, eggs can stay at room temp for a very long time. In Europe, we don't refrigerate our eggs. So if an egg isn't good, you will know it because you'll be able to smell it. Beat the eggs. We're gonna add a little bit of heavy cream. I like the heavy cream, I like the fat in it because it creates sort of a very creamy, velvety frittata. Not a lot, just a little. And if you don't eat dairy, substitute it with your favorite, I don't know, oat milk, almond milk, rice milk. They don't have as much fat, so I would stick with something that has more fat, like almond milk. You can definitely do that. Just make sure it's not sweetened. So it's gotta be unsweetened. There we go. A little bit more. Every little bit counts. Salt. I really like kosher salt because I can feel it, so I know how much I've added. It's got a nice texture to it. See this? It's not a fine ground, it's not a coarse ground, it's sort of a medium ground. A little bit of black pepper. And this is kind of, depends on your taste. My mom does not like black pepper, so when I make this for her, I do not add black pepper. But moi, I love it. You could make it spicy if you wanted to, add some red pepper flakes, some Calabrian chili, like, kind of depends on you. Mix that all together. Next, let's get to the pan. We're gonna start heating up the tomatoes. So we're gonna start cooking the tomatoes and we'll add the eggs on top of the tomatoes. Watch. She saw me see her. She's at the front door. OMG. This is what I like to do with the basil. And I think you guys have probably seen this now on all your social media, but this is what the best way to cut basil. Wrap it all up like this, like a little jelly roll or a little cigar. You roll it like this, and then you do it like this. Okay. I'm actually probably shouldn't be using a serrated knife, but it's okay. See the board? If all of the leaves touch the board, then a lot of the board absorbs the flavor of the basil, and you want to keep it intact. So that's the whole reason of doing it this way. You could tear it. I like to tear it as well. It smells so good. Basil smells good. Nice and clean, very licoricey, sweet, kind of like lemony a little bit. Very bright. Okay, that's done. Let's cook our tomatoes in some olive oil. Come on over. So put a couple of tablespoons of olive oil in the pan. I heat the pan, and then I add the tomatoes to the pan. All right, so we're just basically cooking down the tomatoes. This is a pretty quick situation here because as you can see, the tomatoes start to break down, and that's really all we're doing, is just breaking them down a little bit. You break them down for just a couple minutes as you start to see them falling apart, and we add the eggs. So eggs and basil right over the tomatoes. This is a dish that, like, in Italy, we do a lot. A lot. Lunch, dinner, very, very popular. Very, very fast dinner. I ate this a lot when I was a kid. Because we don't really eat eggs for breakfast, so we eat eggs for lunch and dinner. And a caprese, or any kind of frittata, is basically taking what you have left over in the fridge and putting it in your eggs. And it's super fast. So a lot of families do this. I just take the mozzarella, because who doesn't like a bunch of fresh mozz? and let it set for a couple of minutes. So you're gonna start to see the edges and everything starts to kind of set. The last 6 minutes or so of this, we put it under the broiler so we can just get a nice color and set the top and cook the top of the eggs. Start to see the sides getting set.
What do you normally do for Mother's Day?
Mother's Day, it kind of depends. Usually it's some kind of brunch, and as Jade's grown up, she'll cook it for me. Even when she was little, she'd make me either breakfast in bed or brunch in bed, but it was like simple stuff like flavored water with some fruit, and then she'd try to get her hands on a croissant from somewhere because she knows I love croissants. These days, she'll actually make a meal, and a lot of times it's either brunch or it's dinner. Jade likes the dinner idea because she doesn't really have a good handle on breakfast brunch. So she's like, I'll make my mom a pasta and we're good to go. So that's usually what happens. And then I'll usually see my mom for my own mother for brunch, or my sister, or both. So it kind of depends on the year. It sort of changes. You can start to see all the sides are set. Now, see how the top still needs to be cooked? We're gonna stick it under the broiler for about 6 minutes until the top is golden brown and it's all cooked. This always helps so I don't forget. All right, so now for the fun part. Any imperfections will be covered with the prosciutto. I'm just gonna layer some prosciutto on top. You coming to taste, Bells? Come on over, Bellsy. I just like to lay the prosciutto like that. Just drape it all over the top. You can do as much prosciutto as you want, a little bit of height. And then we add a couple of tomatoes. Whoopsie. You can see that it's a very bright and happy, very much kind of the feel of Sorrento, springy and just visually happy. And then, because it's Mother's Day, I got some micro arugula. You could do micro basil. A lot of times I don't do this, but because it's Mother's Day, I thought it'd make it look extra, extra pretty. Ta-da! All right, let's cut into it. See what it tastes like. Let's do it! Oh, yes. So fluffy, so moist. This is fabulous. Mozzarella. And if you guys are looking for more Mother's Day recipe ideas, we've got lots more for members. Check them out on Giadzy. I've got one more recipe that I just love on Mother's Day. It's my lemon olive oil cake with a white chocolate glaze. That is perfection in my book. Happy Mother's Day, you guys.